This is the story of how I had my very first NLP client or coaching client or hypnosis client, it doesn't matter how you want to call it, basically my first paying client. The first person I helped with NLP and hypnosis skills who actually paid for the service, which was the beginning of my profession. In the beginning, I had joined some Ericksonian therapy training. I never joined any kind of NLP training because all the ones I had around me back then were kind of BS. The people who were running them knew less than me, whereas I had only learned through books. So I wasn't really interested. However, I thought Ericksonian hypnosis had a lot of value because to me, Ericksonian hypnosis was the root. It was really at the roots of what NLP became, at least for the therapeutic applications, at least back then. So I joined that, and just not long after, I told everyone that I had just joined some hypnosis training and I was certified, even if I never really considered being certified anything of value. But I told everyone I was with in college, because I was studying psychology in college, and to my family, to everybody. The result of that was that a response came from somewhere. Actually, later, many people I had talked to in the university were interested, but in the very, very beginning, the very first one was coming from my dad, because at his office there was a woman doing some sort of internships. She was, I think, changing her job, and she was now into some new studies and into some internship, long story short. Basically, he had told in his office about my recent certification, whatever, and that woman was interested. She came in the house to have a session, and the very first thing I did, and this is somewhere where I think many people who want to become a coach have to listen carefully, because usually they come unprepared into the session with their client. They wait for the client to come and then they try to start being clever into what they say, but they haven't prepared mentally first. However, coming from some athletic background also before that, I knew how to condition my mind beforehand. Among the things I had done in the very beginning with NLP, I had practiced how to trigger impressive states of courage and motivation, because I was in boxing, Thai boxing back in the day, and I had already learned to use NLP to trigger a massive sense of courage and determination. I did almost the same thing just before the session. I basically charged myself up with a positive state, saying to myself, I am going to bring the best help I can to this person. And I don't know yet what is it going to be about. I didn't even know what the problem was going to be about. I didn't know what it was going to be about. I had never talked to that person before. I didn't know what technique I was going to use or if I had to follow a sequence. I knew nothing of that. The only thing I did was charging myself up with a positive state of I am going to bring the best value I can to this person. And doesn't matter what comes out of it, doesn't matter which road I'm going to follow so that this goal is being achieved, I'm going to bring the best value possible, period. Then she arrived, and she was pretty stressed out when she arrived. Not because of me, but because of all her problems, and she was not really comfortable talking about it to somebody she didn't know. So she was like this, hello, like completely constricted, like her shoulders up and like not really talking. Very like stressed and kind of closed and like this. In the beginning, basically, so it was about some career change, a career shift, stressed out about what to do, because she had a son and she was around 39, 41 years old. So career changes in those phases can be very stressful, obviously, because you have a lot more to lose than changing your job when you're 18 or 19 years old, for sure. And I just took the time to listen in the beginning. I just used basically the SCORE model that I had just read into some NLP article like 2 days before. Nothing complex, really. People just keep overcomplexifying this stuff. It can be very simple. I just followed the SCORE model, so symptom, cause, outcome. By memory, can I remember symptom, cause, outcome, SCORE, resources, effects, long-term effects. now I remember. So I just had that in my head and I followed the whole thing. So I questioned her about the symptoms. So what is happening right now in your life? Then the causes. So what do you think are the causes? Usually people are less aware of what is really the cause of their problem unless they have already investigated themselves through some reading maybe, or they went into some other training or therapy, whatever. Then I questioned what does she want, the outcome. Then the resources, so what did she have at her disposal, either internal resources or external in her environment, maybe her husband, maybe friends she has, maybe some other people she knows at work, whatever resources she has in her life that could be helpful, and affected is long-term effects. The most basic thing ever, I just followed this model one step by step, questioning her about the first one, the symptoms, the cause, the most basic way ever. I did nothing complex, and just with that, all the answers came very easily. So I could figure out all the fears that she had, where did it come from, all the things that she thought she would not be able to solve. Everything. It was really giving me everything. Then, since I was not trained enough, I was not trained yet into becoming very fluid and fluent into language abilities, I didn't jump right away into any hypnotic language or conversational abilities, nothing of that. I paused and I told her I will need to look into my notes to find how to use hypnosis with that. Because she was coming for really a hypnosis session. She wanted to be hypnotized, whatever. So I just looked into my notes. On my laptop I had all the notes from the training. Since I didn't know yet all the protocols by heart, by memory, I didn't know yet all the steps of the reframing, all the steps of belief change, all the steps of age regression. I didn't know all of that very clearly memorized yet. So I looked into my notes one by one, noticed what could be helpful to that person based on all the notes I have on my laptop. I looked for about 2 minutes. I say, excuse me, I will just look into that for 2 minutes. I looked and I just had one flashing through my mind as I was reading that. That was one of the protocols that just flashed through my mind of, oh, this is what I need. I think it was the permission-based protocol, something around, you get into a room back in the deep side of your mind and you get in front of a permission, something you haven't been allowing yourself to do, that you can allow yourself to do right now, and then you incorporate that into yourself. You see how is it going to change your life. Nothing really complex, just a basic NLP protocol. And I switched off the laptop and I told her to close her eyes and I started guiding herself. I used a very basic, I think, Ericksonian induction. So like just to see the sunlight, you are on a beach, you see the sunlight, you feel yourself being soothed by the warmth of the sun, the stillness of that ocean in front of you. Whatever it was, just something to guide her slowly into a nice and comfortable state. And then I was seeing her head was starting to tilt on the side like this as I was talking. So when her head was completely like this, whereas in the beginning she was super tensed. So when somebody is very tense like that, it is very unlikely that their neck is going to move, because when you're too tense you don't move. So the sign that her head was going like this was a very clear sign that yes, she was relaxed. Otherwise she would have stayed like this, completely erect. So she was like this, relaxed. Then I went into the protocol. I think it was guiding herself into a hidden room in the back of her mind, and then making her see a conference room in front of her, and a sphere of power, which was the permission she had to allow herself with, something she wanted to allow herself to do that she was not allowing herself, something like that. And I did. She woke up after the session. She got back into awareness after the session, and she said she felt really relaxed, really relieved, really good. At this point, though, I didn't have any clue, any idea if what I had done was really bringing any effects. I could notice she was really feeling more relaxed and more appeased, but I didn't know any further. Did it do anything? So I had to wait, and 1 or 2 weeks later, she contacted me again. She wanted another session. I said, okay, yeah, if you want. She came back and she just passed the door. It was almost like a different person. Not that I had made her change her everything, but in the beginning, the first one, she was extremely stressed out, and she said that after our first session, she felt so relieved and so relaxed and so appeased that she just wanted to come for another because everything was feeling easier in her life just after the session, which, as we know, is never really us doing it. It's just the person doing it by themselves with some added help we are giving, but it's not us that are controlling the person to change. So she was doing that by herself, but she had discovered all of those behaviors and this ability to relieve and to feel much more lighter about her life after our session. So she attributed that to my help, therefore she felt delighted, and after that, so she came for a second session, and after that she sent me a friend of hers, or like a friend of hers asked her about it, and she said, oh, Matteo is someone I met recently and you can go to him. So I had another session with a friend of hers, and then with her son too, because her son had trouble in school memorizing stuff. So he came for a session with me, and coming from a magician's background, I had done the magic memory act where you memorize tons of stuff and then you just say it out loud after just a few seconds. I had practiced that long ago, so I taught her son to memorize more effectively, and it worked beautifully. She sent me a text, oh, thank you so much. Everything became so much easier when he's doing his homework. So basically it was the beginning of this career. The whole point with all of that, I think, is start where you are. All the people I have seen and tried to help over the years, they always knew much more than enough. They knew more than what was needed to start helping others, but they were always thinking of themselves as not ready. I need to have more certification. I need to study more. I need to read that book. If only I could be like Bandler. If only I could be like Tony Robbins. You just have enough with what you have right now, basically. I was not an expert when I had this first client. I was not an expert in any way. I just went with what I had learned and then excused myself, looked into my notes. It is okay if you're a beginner, it is completely normal. And then you come back, you just bring the best value you can. In the end, people are just changing by themselves. The therapist is only a small help. It is only a small key that will unlock something, but what is it going to unlock, and will it unlock anything? This is only the decision of the person coming for a change, coming for a coaching session. So in the end, you are just a facilitator. You are not required to provide results to everyone, which means that you can start with what you have right now. This is my best advice, and see you soon.